Hi everyone, welcome back to the Jansen Art Studio. I'm David Jansen and welcome to some of our quick study techniques. These are fun little paintings that we like to give them to you as a download, and you can just take your Saturday and do a nice fun little painting, practice up. Try to do a couple of these a day. They help you get casual and practice through some of the techniques. So today again I have another smaller board. This is just a small one. It's like it's not quite 11. It's like about 10. It's about 8 by 10 or so, or just a little bit larger than that. It's what we call an F4 size. So, and I'm going to do this little seascape right here with a diminishing back into a vanishing point back here, which is what we like to do. I have the board based a light gray, which is white, with just a little bit of Hansa yellow and a tiny touch of black to it. And then I just kind of made a quick sketch of where I'm going to go, just as good to get my vanishing point back there. And so everything is going to condense back in here towards that. That's what I want to work towards. So the first thing that we got to do with everything is I'm going to take my bigger brush. I'm going to use my Paint It Simply colors that I have out here. It's the 6 regular colors, and I've added some pine green, some burnt sienna, and some yellow oxide out here. Sometimes I add other colors, like today I might be adding some raw umber. And those I have out there, I normally like to paint with the colors mixed with extender into them. But sometimes when I have those mixed up with a lot of extender, I can add out the other ones like a raw umber without having it globalized or anything, because there's so much extender around. And we're going to paint fast today too. So let's get into this. Let's make a nice atmospheric blue. Let's take some phthalo blue, quite a bit of white. Let's add a touch of our burnt sienna into that to kind of gray that blue. Maybe a touch of our red violet in there to get it more of a blue violet. But we want this just a real soft kind of a gray day. I came from the North Coast. I spent 30 years of my life out on the northern coast of California, where we had a lot of fog all the time, so we used to gray. So I want a real soft kind of blue gray here. I'm going to add some extender to that, and I'm going to go right up over this whole back and right back down into my water and my horizon line there just a bit, right into some of the hills that I'm going to have back there. Now for good atmospherics, we want it to go just a touch more blue up at the top here, because that's what happens in the atmosphere is when you're looking sideways through, you may because we're going to be slightly elevated in this painting, we may be seeing out here 10-15 miles. When you're looking straight up through the atmosphere this way, you're only seeing up maybe 5-6 miles, so that's why it gets a little darker blue. There's a lot of things. I have some videos on what happens with the atmosphere, and it's kind of fun to study. We studied all of that in physics in college and stuff. But anyway, so we have a little bit of the blue right down to the lighter. I like this up about a value 9 or so, very light toned gray. And I don't like to go big, huge, long strokes, but just some movement through like that just kind of creates a little bit of atmosphere going through there. Now sometimes I'll even take my brush. We can even, because we're going to do big brush and fast little type of seascape here, and just give in some impressions of some clouds like this right up there, just real soft. Sometimes I'll do this with a little faux medium. Sometimes I'll just take a nice little light, like here's some fog kind of stuff coming in here, just moving along there along the edge that it might be coming in here like that. And just kind of stroking, you're thinking a little smaller back through here. You might even have a bit more gray back into there. So let's get a little bit of blue and a little burnt sienna in here. And you might pick up a bit of that gray color kind of into that there. That's kind of pretty. There is this kind of grayish fog color here, kind of coming through, white and gray there. Now let's get back. Let's put in some of our water. Let's get a little more blue, a little more violet here. We'll start out slightly light back here into the back here. That's kind of a pretty color. we'll walk right, very little pressure here. Walk just lightly back up into your edge there. Let that horizon line disappear. Like you might even blur it there a little bit with the fog line there. And then we'll bring this right on down here, just right into where our water is up here in the front. Here, that's kind of pretty, or the beach, towards the beach. Let's just remix again. I love to constantly mix, so my color changes a bit, a little more blue and violet here, and get a little deeper, darker, richer color here. Some short little modeling colors here. Just kind of move your brush. I like to use the big brush like this on the corners like that, and I like those the corners here like this, just to catch that interest, a little bit more movement and interest. It can get a little darker up here into the front, but we won't go as dark on this one as I do on some other ones. Let's get a little bit of this movement here, just a bit back and forth. Maybe a bit of our grayer color here right up against where we're going to push this beach in, and I'll walk it right into the beach there. We'll just move our colors. This is just a real quick way. If you can see, I can get a ocean there, the look of the ocean, quite nice. Now, what really gets the depth to it is, let's take a bit more of that blue, just a touch more here, right up in here. The colors get darker as they come forward towards you, because you're not playing against that atmosphere. So getting that darker little color in here helps a lot with my atmosphere and my depth there like that. So that is a good thing to have there. And let's get just a bit of this light, and get right back up towards our atmosphere, our edge back there like that. And that just helps me with my depth. A little bit of movement here, just the undulation of the ocean, just a little bit of the movement. Now, let's, I'm going to go down to a smaller brush here. Any kind of brush, a 6 or an 8 or something like that. Here's my 8, or even up to a 10. This is a nice 10 right here. This something to help us with some of our back mountains. We're going to take we're going to keep the mountains kind of atmospheric. I'm going to take some burnt sienna and some of my blue. We're just going to suggest it. Now I'm going to have the light here kind of back up over the edge here. So you have to kind of know that, because as you're painting there, which side is light, which side is dark. And so it's going to be coming right back here. So the side that's leaning back here will be kind of dark. And so I'm going to just give just the impression here. First, I'm just going to give some soft impression of some hills, or maybe even some little cloud structure here. And then we'll go into a little bit more blue and stuff, and we'll come into the hills. Very light blue here, and we'll just lightly come in and put a triangle shape down here, heading back like this. And that just makes a nice edge of a coastline there. So a little darker, a little higher. We want to make a triangle shape. In all of landscapes, and you're studying landscapes, we know that things move in triangle shapes here. So we want to get some triangle shapes out here. And we want to be really quite suggestive here. Maybe a little lighter color pulling onto this side here. Maybe just a bit of this nice light gray right against the edge there, like that'll suggest like the edge of a little beach way back there. So, and we want to do this just real quick. This is quick seascape painting. So if light's coming this way, every angle you pull back this way will be dark. Every angle you pull back this way will be light. And that will real quickly give you the feeling of your light and darks to your little mountains or your little hills there, okay? Now let's come forward. Let's pick up a little more blue, a little more burnt sienna. Let's pick up a little yellow oxide here into that. Model this color, this warm this here. we want to still keep it atmospheric, a little bit more atmospheric here. And let's just pull some of this color here, like that's going to be right along in here. This will just put some base in, and we'll build our colors here just a bit more in a second, but I want to get some of this base in here. And I want to paint it very casually. I want colors to be, I want everything to be very casual here. So I want to just get suggestive here. And what I want to do here is get some of this beach in. So let's get to our blues and yellows, yellow oxide and white here. Okay, maybe just a touch of that burnt sienna, yellow oxide here, and white, some white down through here. We'll get more atmospheric. Let's get a little bit atmospheric. Whenever I say atmospheric, I'm adding the blue sky into that. And let's get this little beach right here. Let's just bring this right forward here. This color, right like that. This nice warm color. Let's get a little bit more into the color. We'll get even a little bit more yellow here into the front. Yellow and a little burnt sienna. So what you do is whatever you start out with, you just increase it coming forward here like this. And let's just take these colors here. We want this beach. Let's just take these colors and just pull out back and forth like this. This light pressure on the brush. This is where the fusion is really great. Light pressure on the brush back and forth to get these colors coming in here. And the movement of this little beach here. Just like that. Those colors going in. Now I don't want to have too much streak there. So I'm gonna go back to my larger brush here and just pull some of this, because that larger brush will not give you quite as many brush marks or streaks, and so I want to keep that kind of soft right in there, because I'm going to make a big soft beachy area here of color, which is really really nice. Oh, the other color that we can add, and it's kind of nice to do that, let's take our violet. Violets are beautiful into a painting like this. So let's take some blue and some red violet here and some white. We'll soften this all out, get a beautiful light violet, very light violet, probably up around an 8 or a 9 into the violets. And those are really pretty here into the beaches here like this, a little bit heavier of that color. Right up here by the sand, right into the sand, out into the water here like this. Isn't that a pretty color? Right in there. It takes the yellows and stuff in, and we'll walk some of that through the beach color here and through our beach. So without really painting too much detail right now, what I'm doing is just setting this up, setting up my scene. Now let's make that a bit more atmospheric. And maybe a bit of that will go into our sky here. Maybe into the water out here. Just a bit of that violet color. That just looks wonderful into everything, really. The violets do. They give that nice coolness to that and break up some of the solid color. And there's a very big feeling that amongst painters, landscape painters, seascape painters, and everything, is that as you paint, you should carry at least a common color, one common color or so, everywhere kind of into your painting. And there is a certain amount of that's true, and I kind of believe in that as well. And that common type of tone, is really kind of nice. Now I'm just going to use some other color here and just push this back and forth like this, just to get a little more interest, just color interest back into there, because I think that was just a little soft looking. So we'll push some of that in, and that works pretty good. Now that's good. Let's set up some nice burnt sienna, yellow oxide. Let's just set up some nice heavier bits of that color right here, right up by our violet here, right in like this. We'll let that just disappear. We'll build that just a bit there. So that gives me a little more deep color into my beach here, which I like. A little bit more yellow into there. Gives me a bit more of that color here like that. So that gives me more depth, more color there, and I like that. Now let's come back in and set up some more depth here. I'm going to take some green, some burnt sienna, some yellow here, yellow oxide. Model that into my brush. So it's not perfect, so it's kind of modeled up into that. Let's come right into the mid area here first, and let's just set up some striking of some of this color here. And see, I want that modeled, that burnt sienna and green and stuff modeled in there. So I'm not creating just one tone. I want multiple tones here like this, coming out. Now, sometimes I'll use my palette knife for that too. That gives you this different tone. Now, I want this tone, this heavy coloring here, and I want that modeling, and then what we want to do is maybe add a little bit of violet to that here and soften it back as it goes back here and heads to that distance, especially as it heads to that vanishing point there. We want that to soften out here as it goes away, but we want to really kind of build it up in here, and we don't want to get too much of that there. Soften that out just a bit. So as it gets, everything that you do with from your brush strokes on down has got to become softer. So here I'll just take a little more of that color and some violet into it here, and just tap right along that edge, and that'll help me suggest the edge of that beach line there. Maybe a bit more here will help me suggest a bit more of my hill or a little sand dune type thing there. And a little bit of violet maybe onto that side there. Tapping that through. Just working your brush. Now this is also where I might want to put out a little of my burnt umber here. Okay, I like the burnt umber color. It's more of an earthy type of color. We'll push some of that nice dark earthy color back up here towards the front, and this dark earthy color here, just kind of push it like this. That's really going to cause this to come forward here. And you can see when I put this on like this, that's going to afford me more room to do a little bit more into the back of the painting there as well. I like that. Here we'll push some of this down here. Yeah, right down there towards our beach here. And so more color, more touches, some stuff going on. You don't know exactly what it is, but there's some stuff there kind of going on. And let's soften some of that with some yellows. But don't take away all of the individual colors. That's what gives that interest and really helps bring that forward. And then it just softens out, see? We want it to soften out a bit here. Just kind of push like this is the edge of the beach there. And small it down as it's heading to that vanishing point where it's going into the distance. You always got to think, okay, I've got to head lighter and more atmospheric as I go back here. So a little lighter, more atmospheric, but kind of push like this, that edge. It gives you kind of the rolling little edge there of the beach and the ground kind of coming together there like that. Okay. Maybe a bit more of our yellow and our light here coming back like this. And very thick paint. This is where it's really my beach, my details of my color and stuff on the beach. And see, I'm painting with the corner of the brush there. That's what's really coming forward here now. And boom. And just, maybe take some thick paint and boom, here, like that. Thick paint, just picking up the thick paint here like this. Okay? just come in and push it and boom, like that, and leave it. Don't touch it again. You want to leave some of those strokes and stuff coming there. So I'm just modeling right here, this real thick, heavy stuff, right with some of that white, just kind of modeling some of that stuff up there with those strokes, and just leaving it. Just leave those strokes in there like that, and let that really come forward here. Put a little bit of that color, just boom right in here. Maybe that gives you that little bit of beach, that slight angle. Now, angles are very important. Like here, I've just a slight little angle here. See, that gives you the downplay of your beach, the angle of that little hill kind of there. And change the color on your brush a bit, and then rotate it around. But then, so it's the angle. So the angle I come at, that gives the angle. Then I can flatten it out like this, coming onto the beach and pulling out into the beach there. Just like that. That pulls right there out into the beach. Here. There we go. Just like that. So I'll flatten it out here as it comes out towards the water here. Just like that. Or sometimes I'll pull back the other way, flat right up towards that angle. Right there like that. That's pretty good. And we'll take some more burnt sienna, pine green, and that umber color there, and just kind of push into the edge of this here. Just kind of cut the edge of that there. And maybe there will be let's take some green and some yellow oxide here. Maybe some burnt sienna, but we'll leave it a little bit more on the green side here. A little bit more green, and make more of a hill here coming down this way. Here, maybe going off the edge here. This little hill coming off here like that before it gets down to, so those streaks are so very important here, so very, very important. And we'll leave these out here. Just leave some of those darks, because the streaks give you your structure of what it is that you're painting there. So a little hill right down into the base there. Flattens out a bit before it goes right down in here. And little stuff going on. Little movements here. Like that. Little touches and movements of some of these other colors in here. Just kind of tap and use different corners of your brush to get some of that movement. Let's get just a bit of that burnt sienna in there as well. There, like that. Gives you that nice beach. Let's get a little bit of violet into some of this and pull that right back through here. Just a bit of that violet color. Just leave that right by that. This coming out here like this hill here. And maybe just a bit more of that green just touching through here. But you want just small movements of your brush with model color here. So, it gives it just, you don't want to be perfect there, because, the viewer's eye will see what it needs to see. Like this is a little hill here coming right here like this and coming down. And the viewer's eye will see that. If you go in there too much with some stuff, then the viewer becomes confused. So you want to keep it just as loose as possible so the viewer can interpret what they need to see. And that's kind of what Monet said. And it's so, you just paint loose shapes there. Not very much, just some very loose shapes. And yeah, that works out pretty nice. Let's get a little bit more of our yellow and burnt sienna right back here. Get a few extra little streaks of that right up in here. Boom. Color. Boom. Here it is. boom, color. There we go. Just like that. And so you can see you get this distance of this beach here. And that, let's get some of that yellow right in that burnt sienna and just kind of break up just a bit more of this beach here. And see, it's just pushing it in at that angle, and I like, lift off a few things or add a few extra little movements there. I'm watching it for its interest and its movement here. Want that bit of an angle there, which is good. Now we'll put just a bit more of maybe a lighter hill here that's going to cut off some of this, so we know we're looking down at this little beach. Maybe a bit more of our shadow here. We've got to remember, that light. So light to the side here, facing the beach, and then a little bit less. So, so we're going to have light coming this way. So these are the light hits of the hill here. The light touches and hits of those little hillsides there, which works. And light here in our beach. Soft. So here you'll get more edges, and here they get softer. So pinch wipe your brush and just kind of brush over them just a bit as those colors start to tack just a bit. So what that does is it blurs the edges. It doesn't blend. We want it to blur those edges just a bit here, and maybe just a touch of light color here, heading right back to that horizon line there. Like little beach, just think of little tiny light hits there, here and there, into the very back of that beach. It's kind of fun to paint these little scenes like this. Those of you that sell paintings and stuff, little scenes like this, especially if you live towards the coast or something, they sell really well. People like paint little small paintings of the beach here. Let's get a little heavier color here. Drag this right in here for some more beach here. More beach color right into the front. Take a little violet into that as well. Push that in, and then we'll push in this little hill and stuff here. Just push those colors back and forth like that, and just kind of suggest those. Try to paint this real quick. We're not quite 30 minutes into the painting, and we've got a nice look to it. Try to get this done here fairly quickly. Okay. Let's get just a bit more here to the back side of some of our hills, right in there. A little bit. So if I get more darks, then that allows me to push just a little bit more back in here, which gives me, which works those back hills just a touch more here. I loved painting up along the mountains of the Cascades and stuff and Oregon coastline, and growing up there as a boy, and then Northern California up along the Lost Coast and stuff. I always enjoyed those areas. And of course now I'm on the East Coast, and everything. You got so many beautiful areas out here as well. I want to go up and paint Acadia National Park, and some of those. So a little bit of violets here, just light. Just adding a little more color and stuff there into the painting. Building it just a bit, a little bit of violets, a little bit of lights, tapping in. And again, that just adds more color and more stuff here, like that. And I like that. And of course, we'll put the waves on. That will really help. But let's put on some of our forward greens here. A little bit of pine green and red violet. That's a nice darker, cooler color here. We'll push some darks right here, like this is a little hill coming right here. We're looking down this hill here. And sometimes these artists will use the knife and stuff like this to really just lay on some thick color right up here. Just real thick, dark. This is, you might think about little bushes and little lines and stuff like that. You're looking down this beach here. Get some red violet and pine green, real dark, dark, dark colors here. Get these nice darks here. And sometimes use a smaller brush, or sometimes I use a little bristle and stuff, and I'll just push up and get some shapes going like this. Just some real quick shapes here. And just very suggestive, really quick here. And this is just going to be the edge here. Just like that. Just like that. Let's push in a little bit more lighter green, a little bit more to our hill here. Back down this way. Push some of those colors in there. And let's move through our beach here a bit. Colors. And if I make this just a bit smoother right here with the beach and stuff, that'll make my my hill here stand out a little bit more. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to restate that. And let's put a little violet in that as well. Here. In fact, I'm going to give my brush a quick rinse. And let's put a little light violet here, just lightly right across, a few strokes right there. That'll help break some of that color. There we go. Yeah, that gets pretty colors going in there as well. And let's get that light beach color at that angle here. Got a nice little texture bit of white, and sometimes just leave those little texture lines there. And let's just model that up and around there with some violets, and get lots of movement in there, lots of movement into those colors there. Along a beach line there, like a burnt sienna and violet, along your waters line there, sometimes like this gets the darker color along the water line. And you'll have some beautiful violets out there as well. That'll put there, but let's get a little burnt sienna and a little yellow oxide here. And some of this violet, that's beautiful color. Sometimes a little green into that. Let's go right along. This will be the darker beach color of the water line. And let's just let that, and this is a good thing to let it just start to narrow down. It gives you another line for your perspective there, disappearing into the back. So it's just kind of wet water there, wet sand area here. And a lot of times, when you see these, you'll see a nice, variation to the in and out of it, and the actual color of it. I mean, will be different. So, and that's what I'm going to leave this time. I'm just going to leave that as a different color. We're going to take a little lighter yellow, warmer yellow light color here, beach-wise, and just kind of leave that right up there like that, hitting the edges of that sand, and leave that line just a touch there for the wet sand and the light sand. Maybe just a little bit lighter right along the edge here, because that's not not quite as where you get a little bit of variation where some of the sand is drying and some of it's cooling. Just a real quick little a bit there, and that works nice. And you know, you can go look up all different kinds of photos of the beach, and you can see, you know, where the sand is lighter and darker. And sometimes I paint it, sometimes I don't. Here, like that. That's kind of nice here. Let's just streak down a little bit of that. There. That's kind of nice. Some of that color there. So we got a little bit of that dark. Now, here comes the fun part. Let's get our light little purpley kind of blue purple color here that's going to happen with the atmospherics. We'll just kind of walk into that with the edge of our brush here. Let's leave a bit of our coloring here, and let's just push in a bit of that violet color pulled right in there, and just pull that out, light violet. Just kind of pull that right out there like that, and let's get a little more of that violet. That little violet edge there, a little bit lighter. And I might want to go to a smaller brush. You know, sometimes I do this real quick with a big brush, and I do just streaks and stuff of it. And sometimes I'll do it a little more detailed with a smaller brush. But the smaller brush here is it's kind of good for this. Right up against that edge there. I'm going to take some of my atmospheric blue and just lift off. Just lift off like that, that little edge there. And let that, just that little coloring edge there, sit like that. That's kind of nice. And so some of that violet color goes in there. And we'll roll some of this a little bit lighter now. With a little bit of dark into it. We'll roll some of that through here. That gives us some waves. Maybe this little wave action here. And then we'll take some of this out. I'm just going to pull this out. Just take this and just pull it out. Just lightly touch and pull like that. Just touch and pull out like that. And pull out, pull out. Sometimes you can pull back into it if you pull out too far. Just pull back into it. But don't play with it too much. Just let what happens there and leave it alone. It'll look better if you leave it alone and don't play with it. You can tap a little bit more light once in a while. Now, this has got to become more atmospheric, more gray, so I'll go back up here to the top part there. And I'm just going to let this get a little closer to that other purple line there. And just little bits of it here. Softer, softer. Back through here, and then of course it gets more and more as it comes up to the front. So you want that atmospheric look to it there. Let's get back here, get a little more blue, a little more color variation here. Let's get a bigger line of it here. Right there. Maybe a bit more here. And this is the big thing is, you know, waves just aren't going to be one big, huge, long line there. You know, you'll pick them up differently. And, you know, they'll break and they'll have different little spots and stuff. So, you know, you don't want to have just a solid wave line there. So there I'll have that. And I'm going to take a bit of purple and the blue here. Maybe a bit of my lighter blue. Here, let's go right over and make a lighter blue, phthalo blue, white, right into some of that purple, lighter color, and just take out some of that. Vary the color though, so it's not always the same. Just take out a little bit of that and streak some of that through, that movement there. Like that. It's impressionistic. This is what we're doing. We're just capturing the colors and getting impressionistic here. Little bits here. A little darker, of course, maybe up here into the front. So we get a bit more stuff going on it. And constantly kind of clean your brush. Don't paint too long because you'll hit that white and then end up dragging it everywhere. So you want to, clean it a little bit and roll your brush up a bit. You can, sometimes I'll do this with the waves and sometimes I'll do it with the shadow here like this. Just kind of take the corner of the brush and roll up just a bit. And that gives you the movement of the ocean here, just a little bit of that, movement going on in there, which is kind of nice. We can take some of this light and pull back. Sometimes I'll use my palette knife in here for this. Taking a flat knife, and just kind of moving it through it. That works really nice. I should show you that. You take some of these colors. Let's take some light. Let's just push this in. A little bit of blue, model some of that in. Some of these colors, just take them right here and just kind of model that up on your knife so you have some different colors here. And just kind of pull that through like that. And that gives you it's not a, it's a very, not precise, let's put it that way. And that's what you want because that ocean is not precise. You've got differences in it and stuff. So, and then I'll take a bit of my other color, just kind of lift off and move that through. So you get this nice variation. It's a more natural look to it there. And I'll just take a little bit off here and there. Some of that. Yeah, just little bits of that. It's nice. Let's add just a little tiny bit of this edge here. Right up over that kind of darker wave line there. Like that. That just adds just a touch more. That nice light kind of shimmery that you can get onto the water's edge there sometimes. There. That's kind of pretty right there like that. That's really kind of good. Now we want to try to finish this up pretty quickly here. So, it all depends on, how much I want to. And I think maybe I will want to get just a little bit more light on my coastline right back here. That helps me pop that off of that blue. That gives me a bit more depth interest and stuff there. So we'll hit just a bit more of that there. That rounding down and here. Not too much. I want that just to go back there to the back. And just let that just fade away back there. That's the key. Let your nice, streaks right up here, the front part of this, gets yourself some of those yellows and whites. Get yourself modeled up here and get yourself some nice, big kind of pull downs of that there. So you get like that little cliff edge there, like that. That's kind of nice there. Let a few hits of that come out. Flat, the angle of your brush, like I say, the angle is so very important. Pull a few out here like that. Streaks out here. Angle is so important here. There like that. That gives you that nice feeling of an edge there. And I like that. Little bits of shadow here hitting on the back side. So everything to this side is kind of the light side. So little bits of, just think of little tiny movements of light and dark, light and shadow, where the light is hitting, where the shadow is hitting here on some of this. Okay, so, and just be really, really suggestive here. There we go. A little bit of that umber in there too. Just love that raw umber. Gives a different color, nice there. Yeah, we'll just put some of that here. Nice edge, a little bit more color right here, a little bit more umber here to this edge, this hillside edge there, and let that come right up against like a light kind of plane heading this way, and then you'll get a good break in your textures or your shapes, your angles, and that helps you define those shapes. In other words, this is kind of flat, this one will come down at an angle and it'll make it look like two little hillsides there, kind of coming back like that. And you know, just boom, take some of those edges there, and I just lift off extra texture if I don't need, or tap with the corner of the brush to give a little more of a interest or edge or something like that there. You know, there's all kinds of shapes. That's pretty. Just build it, but lots of color and lots of movement, and you step back and the viewer's eye will do the rest of that. The viewer's eye will do the rest. That's what you want. Now, up here at the top, I'm just going to suggest just lightly come through here and suggest like some little plants or something here. Some yellows and whites and greens, light colors here. Just flat onto the brush like this. And just kind of push up and down and suggest some little bit going on right here. And down like this. Down this edge. So looks like, you know, we're kind of looking down a bit here. And some other greens and stuff in here. So you're kind of seeing down, maybe a little Hansa yellow and a green, and get a brighter green up in here, bush-wise. Here, some of this right in through there like that. So you got a bit of a color break here. And we can soften this back just a touch. That light edge there. Push that, and then push that back right up into here, and that'll give us, push back just a bit, that'll give us a little more depth here. If I push that lightest color coming, we'll reduce this down just a bit. Sometimes you have a hard time making your bushes and stuff come forward. So just reduce that edge right there a bit. And then we'll use the light green and yellow and some white here. And we'll tap a few little corners of stuff here. Lights and darks. I have that nice dark up there already. We'll push some nice lights and darks here. Looking down. And a real quick way gives you a different look to some of your water and stuff here. This, I like this. Here, just a real quick fun, quick and fun type painting here. Let's put a little burnt sienna. I like burnt sienna and Hansa yellow too. It's kind of a really beautiful, deep kind of color, orangey color, but toned. And that's pretty up in through here as well. We'll get some of those colors because you're picking up some of those colors through there. So you might as well pick them up a little heavier up in here. Burnt sienna and that Hansa yellow is really pretty together. It gives you some. There we go, some of those colors. Let's get some of those lights. There and there like that. Just get some pretty little flowers and stuff coming down. And that's all I'm going to do, just like that. I'll just soften that just a bit there. That's all I'm going to do right there. Maybe run a little bit of that burnt sienna along this edge here. Let that diminish down there. Just a bit of that. If you need it darker, a little raw umber in there looks wonderful. But that breaks that up. It gives you a little bit of the thing. It's real quick, fun little seascape. Getting that atmospheric back there. Now, when you get this all done here, it's like, okay, looking at the atmosphere here, how much more do you want to do? Do you want to push some fog back up in here? Should we push a little bit lighter color into the cloud? Sometimes this starts to dry down and you want to think, okay, we got a couple minutes here. Let's just push in maybe a bit more of a cloud reaching in and drawing into the painting. See, that just adds so much. And sometimes you put it all in there and then it dries down a bit. So coming back and revisiting and rethinking that just a bit, get them a little bit narrower and smaller back as they're heading to your horizon line and down, like maybe there's fog and stuff coming in there and stuff. So you can get that. Now I got those a little lined up and perfect here, so I might want to maybe streak another little high cloud here up like that, and maybe build this one just a bit more right in there like that, and that'll just about do that right there. Now I can increase the interest here by back painting. Let's take a blue, and I'll just show you this. This is something I do in bigger landscapes. I usually don't do it in the small ones like this, but back painting some sky through here like this to reshape the cloud from the other side here, and that it just gives a little bit more, and you can take that color right down. So when in larger landscapes, I do this quite a bit. I will back paint my sky color back into it and take it down where I think it needs to be or something like that, and but that gives you a nice little clouds here that just kind of head here to the back. A little bit of movement, you just kind of drag through there, just grab a little bit of sky movement there, and that's good. That looks good. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for joining me. Look for more of our fun little lessons like this. They're kind of fun to try. This is just a real fun painting to grab on a day. You got a couple hours, sit down and try painting something like this. It's a lot of fun. Till next time, have a great time, and I'll see you on some of our other quick paintings, okay? Bye-bye.